Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of How to Do Psychedelics. I'm your host, Kyle Anker. I'm here today with Joshua Hathaway. Joshua is a celestial bard and holistic wellness practitioner living at the confluence of decades of transpersonal and somatic psychotherapy practice, deep training in temple-style kung fu, wilderness and rite of passage guide work, and a commitment to artful empathy and heartfelt honesty in the lineage of nonviolent communication. He's been leading men's initiations, teaching exquisite communication, and working intimately with individuals and couples for over 16 years. His greatest accomplishment is raising a happy, healthy 23-year-old son who he not only loves but truly admires. Joshua spent the last 4 years stewarding a young regenerative learning village on the Big Island, Hawaii, where he experimented deeply with innovative and regenerative land, food, and cultural design practices. He's devoted to embodying the holistic lineages of collective trauma healing, tantric reconciliation, and collaborative leadership in his daily life, and honoring the generosity of his elders and teachers in the indigenous ways through his own decolonization. His presence and teaching is activating the codes of a more coherent and evolved humanity in every person and group he encounters. His life is a revolutionary stand for growing a new heaven and a new earth right here in the fertile soil of our actual relationships, and transmuting our ancestral pain into medicine and the flames of emerging collective practices of somatic resourcing and alchemical intimacy. Yeah. That sounds like the man that I know right in front of me here, Joshua. It's so good to see you again. I've known this man for some years. Back when I was in the Bay Area, we would weave through community. And when I was just a fledgling in this work before I truly became a man, I saw this human as a man. And I saw something that was inspiring me and pulling me into work that I am firmly seated and rooted into now. So I want to thank you for that energy you brought to the community, for some sort of ember that you stoked, and the way you hold such a powerful masculine energy. I've seen you in your practices. I've seen you with your sword, and I've seen you communicate with such grace and kindness and understanding. The balance I see in you is exquisite. And I just want to thank you for modeling that for me and for saying yes to this.
Wow, brother.
I'm very excited for
Thank
what's
you
going
so
to
much for
unfold
that
here in this
reflection. It means a
conversation.
lot to me,
Oh,
and I'm so grateful to know that, some bit of what I've intended to sort of radiate into the world has found some good soil in you, and I so admire what you're up to in the world these days, and appreciate the chance to commune here in this way and share codes.
yeah. So we're going to start the conversation by the namesake of this podcast. And, I call it How to Do Psychedelics, not because I know how to do them, but because everyone I invite has used them in some way to create the beautiful beings that we see today. And so let's begin the conversation with your story, and however way you want to share it. As a bard, I'm sure it will be a powerful story. How have psychedelics and plant medicines influenced the being that you are?
Well, fundamentally, my psychedelics and my plant allies, my plant and mineral teachers have shaken me loose from the habit of being myself. And my first, what I call my first real journey, my first real quest, happened when I was 18 years old at a very special beach in Santa Cruz. Completely unexpected. And I ended up on an all-night LSD journey with a couple of friends and one flashlight between us to explore one of the most magical beaches I've ever seen or been in my life. And that journey really broke down certain walls inside of myself, inside of my consciousness, and helped me to experience a reality beyond fear and doubt. And that was one of the most powerful and memorable experiences of my life. and really set the course of the rest of my life to really understand and ground and integrate this experience of recognizing that fear and doubt are optional experiences that are opted into unconsciously by most of us pretty continuously, but that there's a very stable and very healthy place that we can embody and exist within that is untouchable by those shadows. And since then, of course, I've cultivated a relationship with traditions and plant medicines of all kinds that have both continue to heal and awaken me and help me to explore and excavate deeper aspects of my own wounding and my own sort of light and gifts, and have also exposed me to integral indigenous traditions and the traditions that are integrations of some of our modern religious and spiritual approaches with those integral indigenous traditions that have ultimately helped me to be able to witness my identity in this whole construct of a sort of modern, late stage capitalist empire consciousness and perspective with a much more ancient and deeper and holistic perspective on life.
Mm-hmm. So if I'm hearing you, that first experience, what I was taking away from that story is it helped you understand what it is to be without fear and doubt. And there was also something around breaking this habit of being yourself. So I hear that right? And so I'm curious, what was your somatic experience of that? Like, what was the feeling? What was your felt experience of those
Absolutely,
sensations, of those truths?
Well,
if you could
my
recall.
somatic experience of it was, on one level, crawling around on rocks in a beach space where the ocean is like washing in and washing out, and there's like water rushing up under rocks and creating these like sonic whooping sounds that you feel through your whole body, and these terrifying sort of jagged spaces of wild water and stone, and me and my buddies just exploring little tide pools and seeing the intricacies of life, right? We were so fully in our bodies and in the environment that we were in, right? And that, I think, was a really essential component of the awakening that happened within me as I came to recognize something more primordial in myself. And I came to directly experience the ocean as benevolent, as powerful and wild and benevolent and respectful, actually. And there was a relationship I could have where I didn't need to be afraid of the ocean. I just needed to be in right relationship with the ocean and to navigate these kind of treacherous spaces safely. So that, like, in terms of my holistic somatic experience of being embedded in a landscape and moving through, was that. And what happened when at dawn this realization struck and the sort of walls finally came down inside of myself, and I remembered things about my past, including being sexually abused as a child. I had vivid memory and recognition of that for the first time. And I had built a very clear wall around that previously. When all of this came in, because I was no longer afraid of seeing what I was afraid of seeing before, what happened was my body kind of burst into this state of pretty continuous ecstasy. And I was in that state of continuous ecstasy for almost 2 months. And it was unprecedented, and something that I could sort of transfer to somebody if they were willing to sort of open themselves to receive the experience. And it was wild, and it was absolutely sort of terrifying to my family and to my friend community at the time, and it's taken me 30 years, to integrate that and to come to embody that and not need to go to the medicine to go and get that, but to recognize that was always my body's own chemicals producing themselves at the invitation of an ally from outside of myself.
What I'm noticing is that you are in a really powerful and rich setting, as nature tends to be, but the ocean, archetypally, the great mother, right, and the subconscious. And we know from Stan Grof's work with LSD, the godfather of psychotherapy with psychedelics as we know it, bless him, there is something that people eventually come to contend with in their perinatal experiences of birth, of like deep primordial traumas. And it sounds to me in some ways you may have touched upon that. And in doing so, there was an absolute flip to a place of complete joy and vitality and resourcedness. There's something powerful in that for sure.
I think one of the keys, and this has been a real key to a lot of the favorite and most profound work that I've done with clients in the world, is that I grew up a relatively city kid. I grew up in the suburbs, but I was surrounded by a bunch of boxes that we built on roads that we made for our vehicles that we made, living inside of this construct pretty deeply. And this experience, although not my first experience like out in nature, was my first experience out in nature with the sort of standard deviations in the mental algorithms that are created by psychedelics. And so it was in interacting with the world that was designed by the self-organizing intelligence that designed me, that allowed me to break through into some more primordial layers of my own being. And I think it's one of the things that I really am an advocate for in terms of people responsibly and like truly successfully embracing the allyship of our plant spirit medicines, is that to go into nature and to allow nature to teach, not necessarily some shaman or some sort of tradition, but to go out and listen to the song of the river, to hear the wind in the trees, to walk into a forest where there are no two things alike, like no copies of anything. Everything is an original. Everything and that your eyes fall upon is an original. There's something really irreplaceable about that environment.
I would say that one of the most important elements of our regenesis, our recreation of right relationship in general as human beings, as Westerners, is that with nature. And a big part of why I feel the indigenous folk, whom we are learning many of the ways to do this from, why it works so well for them, why they largely don't understand or need this idea of integration as Westerners do, is because they have this powerful relationship with nature and with spirit, and with God in this medicine. And that is a essential constituent part of doing this work well, is getting good with nature, for sure. I have another question. Now, we all understand that preparation is an essential part to pay attention to when coming into a transformational experience with or without medicine. And so in retrospect, because I remember you said that this was an unplanned experience, but looking back, can you see how life was preparing you for that? And were there certain signs or patterns you can now understand how you were being brought to this experience, this transformation?
The cool thing is that initiation is an organic process. Initiation is not something humans made up. It's something humans constructed ceremony around, because it's part of the development of any being, really. These initiatory experiences that we undergo, and these developmental phases that we move through continuously as humans, if we're really lucky. if we're really lucky and we stay in a mode of curiosity in our lives as adults, then we can continue to grow and mature through all kinds of phases of development, beyond like a well-adapted tax-paying citizen. Yeah, well adapted to some fucking weird shit.
Well adapted.
So yeah, my life prepared me as only life can, as through all of the interactions, through all of the experiences, including one of the most important preparations I had was being raped by a family friend under the influence of drugs when I was 15 years old. That trauma set the stage. It was the score in my seed that set the stage for when the conditions were right. Something popped out of that identity that had been ruptured by damage, right? By harm. And that's if we're looking at life through a holistic and developmental lens, then we understand all of the traumas that we've undergone as these scores in the seed of our greatest yet to be. That we, if despite whatever sort of attention we've put on it, we have yet to imagine just how amazing our greatest yet to be is. Because it's an infinite horizon. I can't possibly imagine from where I'm sitting how amazing it actually can be. And so our traumas, as much as we want to take them personally, we want to blame society and blame our parents and blame our perpetrators and all this stuff, it's not okay to hurt people. Let's be really clear. It's not okay to violate someone's consent in any way. But what we're doing is playing out these ancient ancestral traumas in our own personal lives. And I believe psychedelics give us an unprecedented kind of support in then allowing those traumas to become the rupture that makes room for something even greater to emerge from our pain. When we integrate that, when we understand it at the deepest karmic level, and when we do the real work of forgiving ourselves for letting that happen to us, because there's something in all of us that actually, like, if it took me a long time to come to terms with the fact that I let this guy do this to me, right? Like, I was so ashamed of myself, and grappling. This part of me was just grappling with all of this, right? And so that work of forgiving ourselves and of taking personal responsibility for the ways that we actually collaborated with. I collaborated with them. I let things happen. I didn't stop things from happening. And I acted cool and tried to be cool instead of just acting like the kind of scared and confused person that I was at 15 years old. And so our traumas are our greatest gifts. And I know it's just like pithy by now, like people talk about it, but truly it is, until I can look back at the worst things that happened to me and smile into it and say, thank you. I love you. Thank you. I love you. Like, this is the litmus. Can I look at this and authentically say, thank you. I love you. When I can do that, I know that I have digested that and I am embodying the medicine that was planted in me by them, right? And so this is, from the perspective of this podcast and from the perspective of all of my work in the world, this kernel of thank you, I love you, is the most fundamental lens that we can bring to our lives. The more I practice saying thank you, I love you, and I say it not just with my words or with my thoughts, but I say it with every breath I take, inhaling gratitude and exhaling love. I love you. That current, that rhythm, that breathing. I don't say it anymore. I join it. I join the universal pattern of this receiving and giving that is at its most exquisite quintessence, gratitude. And I just join it. It's an eternal mantra that the universe is singing always.
I can only imagine. Actually, first, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for modeling vulnerability. I strongly believe that this is the greatest strength for men these days, this level of vulnerability to share our pain and our grief and our sorrow and our stories of them. I personally have found, and with the brothers I circle with, especially men who are committed to doing the men's work and defining our place in community again as leaders, it's not the easiest task to share our pain and our struggle, because in many ways we're still being looked at as the perpetrator, as the problem, as the patriarchy. It's a whole separate thing going on there. But yeah, just we need to be more open with these stories, because I find it gives permission to other men to share as well and to unburden ourselves from this pain. And so thank you for presencing that here. I know it's going to help so many that hear this. And I can't help but imagine what you just shared, this practice of breathing in the thank you, breathing out the I love you, and remembering you said there was many decades of integration after that experience, which brought you into contact with that trauma. And I'm sensing that this is part of what you've learned. And this is how you've alchemized this wound into a gift, into an offering in the world. And I want to offer some space if there's something you want to share around practice here that has been really helpful for you, because in the end, and everyone who's watching this knows that integration is like my thing. And more than anything, integration is practice. It's embodiment. It's using our body to work these lessons, to work this materia, this mythos, this magic.
Yeah, brother.
And so I would
Well, I'm
like a
super
little
grateful
taste
for
of
your
how you do
invitation.
this,
And
brother.
yeah, if I had to choose between somebody learning something that they might use later in life, like tomorrow or the next day, or giving somebody an experience right now of the thing we're talking about, I will take the latter all day, every day. Like, I want you who is listening right now to walk away from this podcast lighter, deeper, broadened. I want to, and this starts with our breath. The fundamental unit of our lives is the breath. So I want to invite you, Kyle, and I want to invite anyone who's listening to just take notice of your breath without trying to poke at it too much just yet. Just, what's it like coming in? What holes is it coming in through? What's it like going out? Where does it go in the body? Where do you feel it expanding into? How deep down into the body does it? And you can immediately notice maybe that this attention on the breath in your body starts to move your body. You're not moving your body. Your breath is moving your. This breath, is it yours? Whose is it? I don't know. But it's happening, and it's always coming in or going out. But it's rarely ever, if ever, doing both at the same time. We have this binary, this beautiful polarity within us, the receiving. As you receive, notice where your breath touches your spine. And let your breath touching your spine be a signal to your spine to come alive, to lengthen. Let it press your sit bones down into your seat. Get your back off of your chair if you're sitting. Let it enliven your spine. Just the direct experience of this thing that's happening underneath everything else. Here in our bodies is where the greatest treasures we will ever discover lie, waiting. Not as a thought, but as a direct perception of a precognitive primordial beingness. Been there since way before these brains made words. Been directly experienced by our ancestors going back thousands of generations. Invite you to let sound come out as you exhale through the mouth. Give yourself permission to be an animal making primordial sound. Whatever feels delicious. And as you make those sounds, notice the way the sounds you make vibrate inside your body. Notice the sensation of the sound you make rippling through the waters of your body. Sensible, perceivable, direct. Let your body just start to do things for itself because it likes it. Let yourself jiggle, wiggle, stretch, undulate. Let your hips start to dance a little in your seat. Really bring your attention to your hips. Let your spine start to wave and spiral. Undulate, explore. Let your rib cage start to feel into its space and its level of openness. This is just a simple exploration of the breath, but it's a way to start to open the channels, to get out of the somatic habit that you have inherited from a culture that has designed you in a very certain way. And a culture, whether it's familial or collective, that is rooted in trauma and fear. There it is. And then we start to cut loose on some of these little holdings inside of us, and we start to burp, and we start to actually off gas, right? We start to do what the astral body is designed to do, which is to digest emotional material. And when you do that, it's going to have a physical component. So when we activate our core, we're activating our stomach, and we're activating the muscles of our digestion. We're reawakening the chi. And when you can reawaken that physical digestion process, then you are also enhancing the emotional digestion process and enhancing the cognitive digestion of all this information that you're processing and sifting. And we start to integrate the breath, the physical movement of the body, the emotional tonality and quality through, and the quality of mental activity into an integrated and coherent whole. So when these bodies come into coherence with one another, we are much more capable of digesting deeper wounding, deeper pattern, transmuting in this moment of relationship what is available to transmute. Because when we want to invite spirit, right? So many of our traditions are inviting these spirits to come and inhabit our bodies and to teach us. We're inviting the spirit of ayahuasca into our physical body and into our own spirit. We're communing, right? When we want to invite such beings in, and then we call upon, within the traditions, we call upon these angelic beings. We call upon the orishas. We call upon the essences of the chiboya and the nature spirits. And everyone knows that if you're going to invite a venerable guest to your house, that you're going to clean that motherfucker up good before you have that guest come in. You're going to make sure and dust. You're going to make sure that their bed is like really, if they're coming to stay as your guest, and you're going to make sure everything is just right. And so it is in this body, these bodies, this physical body, this astral emotional body, this mental body, this causal soul body, transmigrational body. So it is within our bodies that we clean our house in order to invite in the highest order of being to help us to transmute these patterns that we've inherited genetically in order to alchemize in this generation at this time so that we can clear massive levels of collective genetic coding towards trauma and fear, right? Learning to recohere all of our systems in alignment with the frequency of all systems in alignment with the frequency of love. If it ain't love, it ain't for me, fam. I can embrace it in the name of transmutation, but only when I am anchored in my love can I truly embrace my pain as something to metabolize and extract the essence and energy from and release the poop poop. Yeah. So that's a little experience, right? And for me, my daily practice and what I teach is for people to take on a practice of 5 deep breaths. As often as you can remember, set an alarm while you're watching this podcast. Set an alarm that just says, take 5 deep breaths for any time of day. And whatever you're doing, wherever you are, whatever's happening in your life, when that alarm goes off, do it. Because there's nothing so pressing in your life that you don't have time to take 5 deep breaths. There's no decision that you can't make better after 5 deep breaths. Yeah, no, that.
Or
And then when
conversation
you
with a
have an
loved
ally
one
and a
that is of
practice
import.
partner, hey, can we take 5 deep breaths together and feel for a moment before we add more words to this? Hey. So, would you be willing to take 5 deep breaths with me, brother? Let's do it. So as we inhale, we're just going to receive in through the nose, long, slow, deep breath. And in Hawaiian, we say hanu, hanu, and that's the inhale. And the word for breath is ha, ha. So when I say ha, we're going to breathe out of our mouth, and ha, we're going to make a vibration that we can feel in our balls. Right? Hanu and ha. Aloha is the center of all Hawaiian culture. This word means love. It means hello and goodbye. But aloha means the presence of the ha, the breath. It also means alo, to share the breath. So the Hawaiians got it figured out a long time ago, fam. Aloha. So we're gonna practice some aloha in through the nose and just say thank you to life. Feel your gratitude with the inhale. Just feel yourself receiving life. And with the ha, let the vibration of your breath radiate love through every cell of your body first and then out infinitely into like that. So let's exhale. We'll push it out. Stay together. Hold, hold, hold. Fun.
No. No.
Last one, deepest one. Hold at the top. In through the nose. Here we go. On. Take another sip. Open your heart. Smile. Yeah, come on, fam. It's that easy, motherfucker. It's that easy.
Come on. It's that easy. I was just thinking. Well, we're aligned now. That's how easy it is to align with someone. We were just I was thinking it, he said it, and then now it's real. Thank you for offering all of that. I want to say that it was the perfect thing for you to bring into this space because I was needing it in my body. Because this work here, like these conversations, is a strong part of playing out my dharma, which is associated with like my core wound. And so when I engage in conversation about this, it comes up and there's tension and there's a holding. In the place where I hold fear, it's in my mid and low back. And I was like noticing that. Oh gosh, there's only so much you can usually do if you're just trying to stay in conversation and in the mind and in talking like you were doing. You can move, you can, but taking a break like that was like such necessary medicine for me. So thank you for that. And I hope everyone on the other end got something out of that. I'm sure you all did in some way. And what a gift it is because, as you said earlier, quintessence, I love this word, is the fifth sacred thing. It is the heart of humanity.
There
it is the ether. It is the...
Yeah, brother. And if you
it.
don't mind, I'm going to set my chair aside and I'm going to stand up and we'll continue this conversation. But if you're open to it, I'm just going to stop trying to pretend to be human physically and allow my body to do what it does as we have this conversation, because it in itself is a kind of transmission of the regenerative somatics that I'm doing all day, every day while I'm on this podcast, when I'm sitting with a client, when I'm planing a beautiful piece of wood to make something gorgeous out of hardwood that I've culled. So,
man, show us who you are.
I don't need to draw too much attention to the physicality, but our culture has trained us to kind of be up here with our legs locked and our hips kind of tucked forward and our shoulders kind of rolled down and craned a little bit forward. But that antithetical to the actual development of the human fucking body. We are more of our ancestors were like this. Way more of our ancestors were like this than like this, right? So, yeah, our body is designed. We're not designed
ready to spring into action.
Locked out is literally like the physical example of toxic masculinity. Like locked out, up, right? It's brittle, it's hard, but
holding.
No. Our whole body is designed. Our knees are meant to sort of be bent all the time when we're moving. Actually, we're not meant to lock the leg. And when we sink down, then it's really easy for all of a sudden our pelvis drops all the tension in the sacrum. And then we're buoyant and we can start to relax around the pelvis, but also build the core musculature properly. Right. And so the regenerative somatics is about restoring. Yeah, this is the Human Thriving Project, man.
And this is your project right now that you're working on.
Of the human body as like a fundamental primordial aspect of our wholeness and our being, right? To let the mind lean back and become a witness of the body. To sort of it's an inner revolution against the dictatorship of our mind. And it's a revolution of the physical body and of the heart to restore the counsel of our being, so that our body is entrusted with what only our body fucking knows. You know, my body knows how to make sunlight into consciousness, into fucking awareness. My body knows how to transmute these things, right? My mind doesn't know how to do that. But this is what I would love to be able to share with every being who's curious and interested in thriving more fully and more holistically. And this is what has transformed my medicine practice, because I don't get stagnant. When I'm with medicine, I am constantly either moving, or if I'm sitting still, I'm sitting still consciously and intentionally in a posture that's conducive to.
So you're choosing the way to engage, and you're being with it and not being taken by it. Is that something I'm hearing correctly?
Down physically, right? When you get scared, you get tight. You freeze, right? And when I'm tight and frozen, my mind is tight and frozen, right? And I can't change my mind, but I can develop a greater awareness of when I'm getting tight and frozen and out of alignment, and make the conscious adjustment to my breath and to my physicality, and then to my attitude in the form of the gratitude and love practice. I can't tell you how many hours I've spent just inhaling, thank you, I love you, in the hardest moments, when I'm bent over my bowl, and I'm releasing, with every release. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. I love you. Like bringing that into the heart of my hardest moments, right? In the medicine. Please.
I wanna add something to this. May I? So you mentioned this when we were talking a bit before coming into the call, like how you wanted to discuss this way that you are with medicine, and it lit up something in me that I've been practicing as well. Like I've had my experiences of being thrust into the bardo and like getting that full consciousness melting experience with source, life, God. But I feel most empowered when I can be with the medicine, be toe to toe with it, and meet every aspect of pain that is coming up. And what I have done is employed my understanding and practice of internal family systems to this. So whenever I feel not just my own pain and story, but also when I feel that pull, like the medicine, the spirit, something wants me to like check out in a way and go to the bardo, I get curious. I lean in, I'm like, thank you first for showing up. And how can I help you? What do you need? And when I approach these aspects of myself with curiosity, first thing that happens, the grip loosens. It's less pain. And then it might even just completely diminish. And then I tend to feel something in my body, like a gurgling, a reconfiguration, a burp, like a shiver, like something happens. And I found if I continue to be in relationship like that, I can stay in my body. I can let it incorporate me, like the mushrooms. The last time I did this, actually, the first time I experienced this, I was on 6 grams of albino penis envy. It's a strong mushroom. And like, it did not leave my body. In fact, after I had those experiences, I feel like I understood, okay, you can be here. You've got the practice, you've got the strength. And then it took me over and it like spoke through me, blessed my tools with power that I had recently been given in a ceremony. And now I have like ritual sacred tools that I was able to bless in communion with the mushrooms, incorporating me in my body by choice and like sovereignty and free will.
Yeah, baby.
Like that is integration.
That, as you were talking, it really struck me how it's so easy to get caught thinking of ourselves as an individual or something separate from what's happening in the world, right? And my kumu Epulani Stephanie in Hawaii, she really helped me to see the way that the world is as our nervous system, as she described the na'ampua. The na'ampua are the spirits of all of the beings, the spirit of the birds, the spirits of the trees in the jungle. The na'ampua are the essences of all these beings. And for the indigenous Kanaka Maoli, for the indigenous Hawaiian, everything is significant. The way that the wind comes through the trees, and they have names for the different sounds of the winds in the trees, of the different qualities of rain, of what happens when a certain birds or animals cross your path, right? That we're not separate from all of this. That everything that we see as extending out from this body is a part of this being that we are. And so it's like those penis envy mushrooms they're already you. You're already that. It's a channel that we can tune into, right? But it's again, they invite our body to produce more of a certain chemical that it already produces and can produce whenever we have the level of consciousness to consciously do that. Yes.
And it brings in a unique spirit.
It absolutely
too.
Does. And it's in the communion of souls, right? And again, like, we are an identity already, and we get to distinguish ourselves and like enter into duality where there's a me and there's a you and there's a mushroom spirit and there's an ayahuasca, which is ayahuasca herself is our sort of model for the collective being, the being that is two different beings, quote unquote, but is one spirit, right? And so I think synarchy and the rediscovery of our collective identity as one being is really the directionality of our regenerative evolution and of embracing a new level of synarchy, synergy, coherence as one consciousness, while bringing with us this whole development through a separate identity and a sense of deep sovereignty and complete unity embraced in one holistic piece, rather than being stuck in the unity before we created identity as a species and a sense of me-ness. And I want to do this, and I want to get this, and I want it to be this way, and then bringing unity back through the journey of sovereignty, holding sovereignty and unity. The Hawaiians say, lo'okahi, ea. Lo'okahi means alike, harmonious, unified. Ea means sovereign. And these things are absolutely intertwined.
So I'm seeing here in this expression communication how you incorporate embodiment and being in dance with unity and inspired movement as part of your practice. And I'd be curious to ask you, as a way to concretize this for listeners, what are some of your favorite ways to practice embodiment, not only as a way of integration, but in relationship with life? Are there certain practices that have been particularly beneficial to you. I know you, as someone who practices Bagua, like that's something I saw you do once and I got very interested in. Yeah, I just kind of
Yeah,
would like you to
absolutely.
name something that
Well,
people could take away
I'm
and look
a
at.
sort of 27-year student of Shaolin Kung Fu and Chinese martial arts, so Tai Chi, Bagua, these ancient movements rooted in Taoism, completely different kind of consciousness around yin and yang, right? Instead of good and this Abrahamic sort of battle that our
Yeah.
ancestors kind of go back to in a certain way. There's this notion of harmony and balance, yin and yang just being in constant interplay. So that has been a huge part of my journey. I've always been a dancer, and I discovered ecstatic dance really fully in 2013. And that became one of the absolutely most like transformational spaces.
Same. Yeah.
To be in a space where we can move our
Yeah.
bodies freely, we can connect with other people who want to move their bodies, where words are no, or it's not about the words, it's about physical connection and sort of primal empathy. That's been a huge one for me. I've been super active my whole life. I love rock climbing and surfing and backpacking. Um, and I also really love CrossFit. I think CrossFit's fucking amazing. And I also discovered CrossFit in 2013. And it it just rocked my world to get into a form of movement that really like focused on functionality and strength and real movement instead of isolating muscles to make them look a certain way. And yeah, so
Uh-huh.
all of that
Uh-huh.
stuff. And then when I was on the island of Hawaii, I learned hula. I got to practice the art of hula because the Hawaiians never forgot that some prayers can only be said with your, you know, um, and and that's the
Mm-hmm.
integrated
Mm-hmm.
tradition of an indigenous society where dancing and singing and praying are all the same.
Yeah. I mean, I say this all the time, pretty much on every episode, but there's this saying in the village when someone comes to the medicine man, woman, seer, oracle, and like, I need help. And their first question is, when's the last time you sang? When's the last time you danced? And as you were sharing this, I was reminded of an entirely, completely harrowing experience I had on the solstice. Um, I ended up because like my body has open centers in the solar plexus and the heart and the sacral, and so I'm designed well to move other energies, other people's energies. But if I don't maintain and keep my container clear, like I get clogged down and bogged down, and I get so burdened with other people's pain in the darkest night of the year. I was just brought to a state of arrested development and had a few women need to like move me into a place. Goodness, I've heard about being a channel for grief, but I felt it. And I realized it could have gone on forever if I didn't choose to stop, if I didn't choose to breathe, if I didn't choose to say, no, this is enough. And in integrating that experience, I realized after I went to New Year's Eve experience like a week and a half later in a better organization and with good lessons, I remembered how powerful and necessary it is to dance, especially with an organization like mine. If I don't dance, I'm not moving energy. I'm not clearing my system. And I'm also not supporting those around me with my organization. And so dance, man, it's it's so much medicine. It's so important in spaces of big energy, of big power and prayer, and where there's a lot of spirit, especially during the thresholds of like liminal space, like solstice, like Beltane, like these turnings
Yes.
of times and
And I
seasons. So
mean,
thank you for
this is
reminding
for
me
all the
of
men
that.
out there,
Oh,
guys. Like, I think women are better at knowing this than men are. And women have more permission than men do to dance in the culture at large. I just want to say to every man who like learned somewhere along the way that he wasn't a dancer or that wasn't his thing, or just developed insecurities and fears around being seen moving your body in a public place. Like, hey, brother, like, we all carry that shame. We all
mhm.
carry that conditioning. We all have been given those messages to some degree. And I want to promise you that you actually are designed to dance. You're designed to sing. You're not maybe designed to be on Dancing with the Stars. That's not what it's about. It's about being designed to move this body rhythmically and in a way that's pleasurable to you. Like, this is the thing about dance for me, is that it is first and foremost a self-pleasure. I dance because it feels good. I dance and if I'm dancing for any other reason, then I'm on an agenda trip. That's the first and foremost reason. And then the rest, I can share that with other people who want to share it with me. And there's all kinds, but we're designed for this. And I want to invite you in the privacy of your own space to get some music on and just let your body be weird in the privacy of your own practice. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm reminded of a saying, and as a man who understands swordplay, you might know this.
Yeah.
Before you give a man a sword, he must know how to dance. There's something about the mastery of the body that is necessary before we commune and dance with a tool. And man, after I started getting to ecstatic dance, something opened up for me. And there was a way of explaining it that I shared with others who weren't familiar with it that I loved. And it's praying with our bodies. This is what ecstatic dance is. It's praying with our bodies. And so I was able to extend that same sort of organized somatic prayer into fire dancing. And there's something about that is so essential to my being. There are so many times where people I am newly friends with that experience me for the first time dancing fire, and they say they see me a different way. They say like, oh, now I know like who you are. And there's something about that energy that is completely in union with not just spirit, but my primal essence. Like the fire is guiding me and I'm dancing with this tool, but it's me and something else. Now, the big flex for me now is to learn how to do that with a woman. And I'm outing myself a bit here because I'm excellent dancing in my own space and with a tool, it's on fire. But I just fumble and fall on my face when I try to contact dance or dance with a woman. And I know there's something there that's really potent for me. It brings up a lot. I feel like I'm going to be too big or too clumsy or too foolish. There's also a fear of like, can I lead a woman this way? Wow, I'm afraid of that. What's there for me? And I'm finding ways to go into that, but it is such foreboding territory for me right
edge
now.
To work.
Yeah,
I'm excited for you
that.
on that journey. And that's been a real path of mine is the journey of contact improvisational dance. You know, as a martial artist, I crossed arms with a lot of people and did a lot of sensitivity work and was in real intimate space with people. But it wasn't until I was doing contact improv that this came into a really sort of emergent, playful, different way of relating to a woman and to another body and to the dynamics of where I'm in my yang sort of guidance and leadership and where I'm in my yin listening to the field and what wants to happen and translating those two things across, right? That space is so fertile. Yeah. You know, one of the things that I've discovered along the way is that same relationship, that is a mirror for something that's happening inside of you between an inner masculine and feminine, right? That's only an outer reflection of an inner relationship dance that's always happening, right? And the way I like to invite people to play with it is just to let your hands kind of like dance with each other. We all have hands, and there's a dominant hand and a submissive, but they're never competing for roles. They're never, my left hand is never trying to like get out ahead of my right hand and do its work for it. And my right hand's never trying to do my left hand's work for it. They know exactly what to do and who plays the major and who plays the minor and whatever it is we're doing, right? So our hands are these beautiful teachers. I call them my little rascals. I've sat in ceremony with my hands, just like listen to them and watch them and seen their intelligence. My hands know things know how to do things that my mind can't imagine and conceive, right? But within that, we can actually let our hands dance with each other, play. There's this movement where we're just curling back. My right hand is leading and my left hand's just following. And then my left hand takes over. It's this little play, you know? It's these kinds of things that just when I'm sitting as a passenger in the seat somewhere, or I'm feeling a little nervous and I want to decharge any nervous energy that I may be bringing with me into the space, or that I may be conducting from the morphogenetic field and transmuting, right? And I can just do this thing, which is touching myself, which is pleasurable and also very regulating to the nervous system, right? And also building a sense of sensitivity and keeping me in my body so that I'm not getting caught up in the clouds too much. My, right? So.
Excellent instruction and so many ways to start safely and slowly into developing a relationship with our bodies. And I find it to be necessary, because it's such new territory for so many men. And, as we come to a close here, my wish for all the men who are watching this is that they have found some permission, they have received some blessing to get that much closer into relationship with the intelligence of their bodies. Integration has many names and faces. Many will talk about writing, journaling, meditation, contemplation, and those all have their space. But if you don't have something to do with your body, if you don't have some relationship of metabolizing and alchemizing these vast, monumental, symbolic, and archetypal experiences of transformation, be it with medicines or be it with breath work or something, be curious about that. Be curious about the way your body wants to move and shape and adapt to allow this integration. Because what integration literally means is to take two things and to become bigger than the sum of the parts. And so how are you going to allow that largesse into your body? The writing and the journaling is a part of it. It's a part of it, but it's incomplete without something somatic, something physical. And with that, Joshua, if there's any final words you'd like to share.
Those are beautiful, bro. Thank you so much for that invitation to me as a man and to all of us to continue to seek that physical level of integration, to take that walk, to shake it out. We haven't even talked about exercise and importance of tired dog is a happy dog, like making sure that we really stretch and invigorate our bodies, right? Yeah, absolutely. That's it.
We really get into men's work. We'll have to do another episode.
It's just been such an honor and a pleasure to get to share with you. Thank you so much for engaging in these practices with me and playing in these realms with me, because it really truly is a collective phenomenon, a collective prayer that we're in. And the more of us who are cohering around these energies of gratitude and love, the sort of richer it gets. We're designed to commune in these beautiful holistic ways. And we're remembering, and our beautiful plant allies are helping us to remember. They can't do the work for us of bringing those realizations and bringing those messy awarenesses that we develop into some form of integrated service in the world, to our family, to our communities, to our partners, to be seeking to leave every place that we enter more beautiful for having been there. And so I wish all of us a profound commitment to turning our old pain into new gifts to give the world.
Aloha, brother. Aloha. Amen. Hail to the gods and goddesses. Thank you. and looking forward to having you on here again soon. If viewers want to find you and learn more about you, is there
you can find me
an
on
Instagram
Instagram at the
handle
Human
or
Thriving
website you'd like to
Project.
share?
And the humanthrivingproject.org is my new fledgling nonprofit organization that is very much under construction and launching fully this year, 2025. It's committed to sowing the seeds of a regenerative cultural future for humanity and for the earth through our physical, relational, communal, and material practices in a more regenerative practices and ways. And then please check out, if you want, some of my work around coaching and facilitation and the nonviolent communication work that I've been sharing for many years. Go to masteryourbullshit.com and sign up for my list and start getting some really insightful emails about little tweaks you can make to your communication practice that will help you become a Tung Fu.
Mm-hmm. Do you have it from the cosmic bard himself? Joshua, thank you once again for joining us on How to Do Psychedelics. And to all you listening and viewing,
Aloha.
bless your day and bless your lives.